show, so no. And that's like straight up what he said, like, which I kind of do like give me a response or ignore me, but don't like string me on, which I had Dave Rubin do. Dave Rubin and his assistant strung me on for an entire year. Like they were like, okay, next month, reach out next month, and then finally, I guess she had finally brought it by Dave in December, and he was like, no, I'm not doing that shit.
So massive coward. Rubin is a huge coward. I do know this. The stringing along thing. It's happened to me as well. I mean, of course, we're different. I'm looking for explicitly adversarial conversations usually with these guys, but yeah, I try not to do that. When I put you off for a month, it was because last month.
No, yeah, you were absolutely fine, and I have no problem reaching out. But yeah, the Dave Rubin thing pissed me off. It was just like, don't string me on and then like not even try. That's what it is. It's like I would rather you either just ignore me in the beginning, or say no. You know, like just decline.
Well, I swear to you, I'm going to try very hard during this conversation.
Okay.
Paste.
Well, vaush. Is that what you go by, vaush?
Yes.
Okay. It's a vaush.
To some people.
Okay. Okay. Vaush, thank you for joining us, and thank you for having me on your live stream.
Yeah, no, the pleasure is entirely mine. Sorry, I didn't know you were going to lead to another segue. I am happy to be speaking to you this fine day. It's cold, and I'm hoping to warm myself in the fires of this things.
Well, my little brother actually was the one who suggested I reach out to you. He was a fan for a long time. I think he stopped. I don't know if he was necessarily turned on.
Can't do none of that.
Or he just got busy back in school and stuff. But he was the one who recommended that I do this. I don't know much about you. I've heard things. I've seen clips on Twitter, of course. And a lot of my followers have kind of suggested I ask certain things, and of course they've had things to say about you. But
sure. Well, I don't take it personally about your brother. You know, that's the final stage of the vaush fan transformation. You know, they turn into a butterfly and fly off. I imagine. It feels like so often when I talk to people
put this
who
up
don't know a ton of stuff about me, I always feel like the information they have or the questions they bring to me are like of some other person, you know? Like there's some strange amalgam of half-heard info and rumors that have sort of morphed into a conscious being that they assume I am, but we're actually two separate people. So, however you want to take it, I'm fine.
But yeah, I mean, past like 2 days, really. I mean, once you had confirmed kind of the date, time, I went out and I said, this is my next scheduled interview, topics, questions, which is what I usually do for everyone because I tend to not know too much about the people I interview, which is maybe a poor habit of mine, but I actually like going into things without any preparation whatsoever. I think it's more fun. I think it's more fair to you, really, because I have no clue. I mean, of course, I've heard things. I'll preface anything I ask with, I heard this or I saw this, but, you know, of course, I don't know the context. I don't know your past. I don't really watch your eyes. I went into a stream a couple days ago. That's about it, so.
Of course. No, I completely understand. I respect it as well. I generally try to do as little research into a video or a topic or a person as possible before responding to a video of theirs. Because, well, not only is it kind of fun to just have to do it all there on the fly, you know, but I think there's also a value in referring specifically to the content of the video rather than to it plus like 17 other things that you kind of merge together in your head into some sort of collective effigy that you need to burn. I think it's a little pure in that respect.
All right, well, we'll, I guess, officially get started here. We had the verdict announcement that we were announcing yesterday. I guess briefly sum it up because I'm sure you've gone into this on your stream. But kind of, I guess, give your post-verdict announcement take on that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Kyle should have been there. I think it was morally wrong of him to respond to those protests in the way that he did. That vigilantism shit never actually makes communities safer. The evidence suggests the opposite. But once he actually got... That doesn't make it illegal, mind. But once he actually got there, you know, the specific circumstances of the case, I was 50-50 on
the nuance of
whether
the
or not
situation.
self-defense was going to apply.
The consequences of what's going to fucking happen when you allow people to show up at protests with guns.
Really circumstance specific. I'm not a lawyer. I figured it could go either way. My main concern
who aren't organized
is that his
who aren't like there to fucking
encourage comparable behavior from other
specifically aid people.
At least himself towards the
if you're going with a weapon to shoot somebody, you're obviously trying to do something.
Hopefully it doesn't lead
and you're not putting it off the table.
House type situations. that would be pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying that I was talking to my little brother, the same one who recommended you, I think yesterday. What I was saying was that, you know, whether to say what you want about him, you know, being there, crossing state lines, whatever you want. If my concern, similar to yours, is if people all of a sudden who are not as trained. I mean, Kyle seemed to be pretty trained, pretty well trained with that weapon. I mean, the fact that he didn't miss or shoot someone else accidentally, or you know, it kind of is impressive. And I'm worried that people who are not at his level might go out. Typically, like the tack deer LARPer crowd.
What the fuck are you talking about? He himself is a LARPer.
But at the same time, I didn't want anyone there, really. I didn't want the people there who were burning things down or being violent in any manner. So
for me,
it's not like he made any effort to contact people and fucking go out as an organized group. On top of that, aren't you a fucking minor?
I'm not sure I've heard much about that, but
let's just say there is a person. It doesn't matter. Hypotheticals, you know. If you have somebody like that, let's say you have a celebrity, you know, and they're like, yeah, I have some crazy disease, and I'm gonna heal myself with these pills. Fuck modern medicine. I don't give a shit about modern medicine, you know. And then they actually live, like they get better. Now, miraculous, sure. Is it good that they're alive?
Shit.
Yeah, but I've got to worry about the discourse that's going to inspire, you know, or like homeopathy treatments. Like, is it good they're alive? Yeah, I'm glad they're alive. I don't think they deserve to die just because they disagree with medical methods. But now there are going to be a bunch of other people doing that instead of getting proper medical treatment. You know, that could actually be quite harmful.
Do you think Kyle would be? Do you think some defamation lawsuits that are probably going to happen are? Do you think that those will look good for Kyle? Do you think he should sue? Do you think it is I guess my question would be,
I feel like that's a bitch move.
Certain media corporations or public figures or government officials,
and obviously a clout chasing move.
To meet the legal standard against a public figure, no. I would be shocked beyond belief if any of those result in a settlement towards Kyle. So you could argue the media has been unkind to him, but in order for them to meet the definition of slander, it would have to be knowingly false information that can correspond provably to damages. And I don't even know what you can find. I mean, they've said he's like, there's some that say he's like white supremacist or whatever, but that wouldn't even come close to me anymore. I mean, these days everyone's calling everyone else everything, you know. Candace Owens is calling all Democrats right. I mean, you could.
To be fair, that is a pretty big claim.
That shit gets applied to everyone. Every single person in the United States gets slapped with that lawsuit the moment that becomes precedent. So
I kind of hope it does though.
No,
you think
of course you do.
Well, I think my problem is there is a severe problem with the labeling and ruining of people's lives. Like I get it. I guess if you're calling someone white supremacist, it's not provably false, whatever. But like these things are ruining people's. Let's say because vaush, I believe. I did watch a clip of you.
He didn't fucking. The media didn't ruin his life. Him shooting people dead was what ruined his fucking life.
What did I say? I think
him shooting BLM protesters was what fucking ruined his life. Knowing damn well that the social tide is moving in a different direction than you are.
If someone were to push for mass genocide of a certain race,
how dumb could
that it's
you
okay
be?
to hit them in Minecraft or something like that. I think it was like an insinuation that Richard Spencer was deservedly hit.
Oh yeah. Oh, I've said way worse stuff. Yeah. I'm sure. It's right. So, yeah, it's about the outcomes you get from that. I can elaborate on that.
Okay, so if you say, and the phrase everyone uses is punch a Nazi, it's okay to punch a Nazi. So when everyone starts using that term, and people who might not be paying attention as much all of a sudden latch onto that, like this person is a Nazi, and they also think it's okay to punch a Nazi, but this person doesn't necessarily believe in genocide, or is pro-genocide in any way, or is trying to.
But if you're into ethno-states, though.
Like I have a problem with the. I hate to use the term slippery slope, because I know it's technically like a fallacy or whatever, but I am worried about the gates that those things open.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, what we're talking about here are two inevitable but kind of uncomfortable realities of living in the modern world. On one hand, we've got free speech, and a loosening of libel and slander laws could, in some ways, be beneficial because people do get fucked over by borderline libelous or slanderous shit being thrown their way from media corporations that don't give a fuck, you know. Fox News fucked around and didn't find out because they retracted their claims about Dominion. OAN and Newsmax didn't, and now they are finding out to the tune of billions. There is these laws we have, for reasons to exist. You could loosen them, and there would be some benefits, but it would also, I think, provide a pretty strong chilling effect on our ability to engage in discourse, especially with stuff like calling people white supremacists, because a lot of that is inference, It's also kind of theory-driven, like, well, what is a white supremacist? Well, are you talking to an academic or like Joe Plummer? We're going to have different definitions, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a lie. It's just complicated. With the Richard Spencer thing, we're talking about political violence first and foremost, which I just think is a reality of living in the world we do. And I don't know if we can do much about its existence outside being honest in how we're using it. The thing that gets me a little bit is like, we're all pro-political violence, right? As long as it's legitimized by the state. But we all understand, of course, that the state makes mistakes. The state is not always as diligent as it should be in fighting evil. And sometimes they will fight in favor of evil. I mean, we know this, slavery, etc. So the real question is, in what instances is political violence justifiable outside the purview of state-mandated, violence? And that's a very difficult question to answer, but I would say, for example, in like a pre-Nazi Germany, if Jews who kind of saw the writing wanted to run around like stabbing future Nazi officials in the back, I mean, in retrospect, at least in hindsight, I could not condemn them for that behavior. But that would have been illegal. I mean, that would have been murder. So it's a complicated question.
Yeah, so what, I guess, would be the difference between the kid, Cummings the kid, and Marshall Light? Because he did went big on his defamation lawsuits. I think it was like $250 million or something like that. And I believe that he was treated better than Kyle Rittenhouse has been.
I'm otherwise occupied. So call back later. You heard?
This was that cunty-looking smiling kid, right?
Yeah.
The smuggler?
Yes.
Yeah, this was pretty fucking stupid. Washington Post still $250 million too. God damn. I gotta look smug up there one day. Holy shit. Yeah, I think vaush coverage. I would need to know the specifics of the case. Because I didn't follow this when it was happening. I would need to know what claims they made. I don't think that for something like calling Kyle Rittenhouse a white supremacist, I don't think that would be the bar. But I think with the grinning kid, they like really fucked up coverage. Like the libs on MSNBC were like frothing. Like people got really mad over it. Fuck, at least Rittenhouse killed people in a protest. I mean, at least that's there's something there. But I don't know. I'd have to look back at that.
See, well, I don't know, I guess back to saying I wish there were more laws on this stuff. I think it's a big problem because of course I've talked with people about this case, especially yesterday when the verdict came out, and interacting with people who might not be paying attention as much or be on Twitter or follow the same people you and I do. When they came up and were like, that racist boy just got off. A lot of them were saying that he's killed black people. Mm-hmm. Joe Biden himself called the kid, I think, a white nationalist or white supremacist in his campaign ad, or at least inferred it. He had a video of Kyle Rittenhouse playing over the text that said white supremacist. Or,
I don't know
his voiceover.
I don't know if it called that. If he would call him that directly. I think. I don't know which. Well, I would have to see. I don't really pay attention to Joe Biden's campaign ads or nothing. If he's talking about like white supremacy and you throw Rittenhouse up there, I think that's fine. I think that Rittenhouse, at the very least, motivated by white supremacy, at least indirectly. But with regards to why people think he killed black people, I don't remember any media institutions, any major ones, like CNN, saying Rittenhouse killed black people. I think people just kind of inferred that because it was a Black Lives Matter protest. Like, Rittenhouse is white, and he's gone over to BLM, and he killed people. So maybe people just put, two and two together, I think. If there are any institutions that said he killed black folk, they were wrong. I don't know if that would count towards slander, though, necessarily. What would you think should be legislated here, right? Would you really like one Rittenhouse to be able to sue Joe Biden for throwing Rittenhouse's face up while talking about white supremacy?
I honestly think he should, and I think he should win. Because while he may not have specifically said Kyle Rittenhouse is a white supremacist, the inference is that, I mean, I've seen the video, I don't know if you have, but this was his campaign ad before winning. He said something about Donald Trump allowing white supremacists, and while he's saying this, Kyle Rittenhouse, I believe, is the first picture or video to play over that. And so now the inference is that this kid is a white supremacist, or that he's some terrorist or something.
This helmet does nothing.
Sure, well, you can say he's aligned with white supremacy. I'm fine with saying that.
But how do we know that?
You can't. It's inference. There's no way to prove whether or not it's true outside of direct confession.
Okay, so then why are we telling people that as someone who's running for president and allowing people to walk around thinking that this kid, like, how is that morally, how is that responsible? Like, how can you be, you're someone with a platform, you're someone running for the
That's kind of crazy. They don't use this logic when you're talking about how Trump fucking like emboldens white supremacy itself.
But that doesn't have anything to do with the claim that he might be.
Like, when you're up on that platform, why can't you be more responsible?
Legality is.
He might be, but his life is.
But that's not the conversation.
It's definitely been ruined more so by this labeling that's going on.
Okay. Well,
I mean, we can say that he was probably reckless to show up, and that maybe his parents should have done something about it. But I mean, in the end, that is his life is literally ruined. I mean, he's going to have 24/7 security. He's got 100 death threats.
He's gonna be living on a cushion of Republican support for the rest of his life.
Basically,
he's going to be a politician in 20 years. So I don't know if I'd say his life is ruined. I would say there's been a significant disruption to his life. That's pretty clear, I think. But with regards to like the claim here, I don't even see how it's wrong. Like, the problem is with claims like, oh, you're aligned with white supremacy, you're this, you're that. I mean, these are all inferences.
Okay, I'm on.
Subjective statements made after